at day 4. There we go. Like I said, this is day 4, pretty much of Jesus in Jerusalem. In the morning, Jesus went to his gate, and our people came as he taught. The scribes and judges brought a whore. The scribes and judges here at this time would be the answer. Should I put should I put higher judges or higher scribe or highest? Because they can't be the highest. They could be the highest scribes, highest judges. Judges. So I need to do this. Save. Brought a whore and set her in front of him. They told him, this whore was caught in the act. Now the law commanded us to stone such a whore. What will you say? I left the word not just to say what do you say. What will you say is okay. I know people might complain about the difference there, but I'm just saying that I feel the word will is better here. They were testing him in order that they can accuse him, but Jesus bent down and with his finger he wrote on the land. Now the land is the surface, the ground is underneath. That's how they looked at or used the word land. When they continued to ask him, he stood and said, who is without sin among you will be the first to throw a stone at her. Then he bent down and wrote on the land. When they heard him, they backed off, and he was alone with the whore. Jesus asked her, where is he to stone you? She said, you, my Lord. And Jesus told her, I will not stone you. Go on your way and sin no more. Now, this goes to the prophecy of you will not put out a dim wick, and he will, I can't remember the others, or break a reed or something like that. So I'm going to note this to find that and put that in here as the perfect example of Jesus doing what is prophesied here that he would do. And it comes to the point that this is a perfect case for this to be noted here, by the way. Jesus told them, I am the light of the world. I have to put the word "the" here for you to understand that Jesus is talking specifically about him. If I said, I am the light, that could be interpreted as different types of light. I want it to be recognized that Jesus is saying, I am the light for the world, the one and only that can point out how to be obedient to our Creator, the Most Highest. So he's referring to himself again as light for the world. Whoever trusts me will not walk in darkness, for they will have my light for their life. Meaning his light is a guidance for their life on earth. The light for, and I think I'm just going to put the word man here. And I got to say I'm going to add this because that's too big of a change. And I'm going to get rid of this and this. And now Jesus speaking to exactly the word world. It's not so much to imply the mountains and lakes as well. We're looking for life here, so it has to be man. The light for man. I am the light for man. Whoever trusts me will not walk in darkness, for they have my light for their life. Can't be cleaned up any better than that. When their judges told him, the word there, using that to refer to evil judges. The judges, and we have to use that we're talking here. His judges told him, "You are bearing witness of yourself, but your witnessing is not true." You are bearing witness of yourself in this verse. Change this to therefore. For your witnessing is not true. Jesus replied, I bear witness of myself, and my witnessing is truth. For I know where I came from and where I am going. You do not know where I came from or where I am going. This implies that Jesus is saying that he was sent from our Creator, and he is a witness of himself being here on earth, being sent by our Creator. So he's saying the two witnesses are our Creator and him, because he knows where he's coming and going, and he knows his destined future as being our King in heaven. You people judge the body. I am not judging by anyone's body. I do judge by my judgments, for Yahweh sent me with his judgments. But even by your laws, a testimony from two is truth. I bear witness of myself, and our Father whom sent me bears witness of me. There we go. He's using our Creator as his witness. And because everything is our Creator, you have to understand that he is witness here because we're here all times. It seems like I can't stream to Rumble. Okay. I was hoping that I got that worked out, and it's not working still. So they said to him, where is he? Meaning our Creator. Jesus said, you know neither me nor our Father. For if you knew of me, you would know our Father. I will go away, and then you will seek from me for your sins. But where I am going, you cannot enter. So he's telling them that once they are aware of who he is, then they are going to be seeking for Jesus to forgive him. Okay. Our Jews were saying he will kill himself. Now these are people that are against our Creator that were witnessing them. And for he said, where I am going, you cannot enter, meaning heaven. Okay. Then Jesus said, you will die with your sins unless you believe I am your Son for man. I will judge you, for Yahweh sent me with his truths. His judgments I heard from him, and these judgments I speak to you. Nor I do anything by my own will, and speak of the things our Father taught me. And Jesus is pointing out how his closeness to our Creator would be of all the prophets telling about Jesus being sent by our Creator. So he summoned all this up here, and he's also stating facts of what his experience was with our Creator. So, getting the text got in there. God has sent me, and he has not left me. Thus, I always do things that please him. In other words, he knows our Creator knows everything and is everything. Okay, so he has to be aware of everyone's existence. So this is Jesus' statement on this. Now, this text looks too close too. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I missed many of those as well. If you live by his words, you truly are my disciples. And these are a secondary disciple. I'm looking at whether I was going to capitalize it, and it's better not to be capitalized. You will know his truths, and his truths will redeem you. If you live by his words, you truly are my disciple. I think I need the word for you here. For you will know by being obedient to his words or his command. Words is okay here. I don't want to use the word commands. Be led by his prophecies, his promises, by his words, which would have to include all. So yeah, that's okay. And his truths will redeem you. They replied, "We are Abraham's descendants. Now is it that you say you will redeem us?" Now this is the text that's been distorted by them. And those I'm talking are the Jews here that are here because he's talking to them. And this was that Satan is a deceiver. And the thing here is they've been deceived and they trust by deceivement, and they're using Abraham's descendants. Now, the thing here is I can't say exactly what the intent of them saying Abram's descendants, because we know that we have the promise by our Creator of Jesus here in these verses in Genesis. The way the text is 17:6 talks about kings shall come forth from you, and he will establish my covenant between me and those. So me and yours, between your descendants. So I don't know how they could say this is what's going to allow them to enter into heaven and not understand these other words. But because I'm aware of them, I'm having a hard time saying how they're actually saying, because we're Abraham's descendants, we're going to enter into heaven. How is it that you say you will redeem us? Because our Creator has told them that he will redeem them from the abyss only if you obey my statutes, commandments, laws, and guidances to be the best to all of them. Then he will redeem you. So this is not going to be the same redeemed meaning as our Creator redeemed. This is them just using the word redeem us. Jesus told them, I am saying everyone sins, and I am the Son for man, and I will redeem them. And this should be all capitals and have says red text. Did that? Whoops. It'd be like redeem them, meaning his redeeming capabilities are coming from our Creator, designated to him. I know you are Abraham's descendants, yet some of you seek to kill me because my words have no meaning for you. Exactly is pointing out that of what Abraham's descendants are meaning here, because my words have no meaning for you. That means that they're accepting Abraham, but not the words about Jesus being their king in heaven. So you can see that some of these people were deceived even more than you would think of what's been revealed or being taught by mankind in the synagogues. So your leader will be Satan because his do his desires. And you have to understand his desires are to deceive people. Should I put deceive there? Your leader will be Satan because he is do his deceiving him. Satan because his do his, I guess, desires, because it can just be evilness, wickedness, tearing down on people, and that would not be fully put as deceiving. So desires is the better word. Yet I speak his truths, and you do not believe me, meaning our creators. I speak, and I'm going to put his truths. Make sure that people just replace the word his to be more. I'm pretty sure Jesus didn't. I can keep these, but I just want to make sure that we introduce who Jesus is saying to everyone. So yet I speak Yahweh's truths, and you do not believe me. Which of you will condemn me for a sin? Yet I speak his truths, so why have you not believed me? For whoever hears the words from Yahweh heard of me. Okay. You did not hear them because you are not for Yahweh. So again, these Jews have just left Jesus and don't care what's in the text, is what Jesus is saying here. So yes, these Jews can't be considered mankind. If I was to change the word Jews to mankind, that would not be right. So someone answered him, they will say rightly, you have a demon. Jesus replied, I do not have a demon. I honor our Creator, and you have not honored me. I do not seek for glory. If anyone obeys my words, they will live with me. If I put my glory here and use it as a small g, that's okay because it's not the glory that he wants. He's obeying our Creator to receive his glory according to the text above. So I do not seek for my glory, which would be their type of way of life. meaning riches, wealth, power, status. If anyone obeys my words, they will have life with me. He understands his glory, and it's his words that he's teaching of his kingdom in heaven. Because a lot of things that are in the text here are not in the Hebrew text. He replied, "Now I know you have a demon. You are not greater than our forefather Abraham, who died, as did the prophets. Whom are you making yourself out to be?" Jesus said, "If I glorify myself, my glory is nothing, for my Father will glorify me." So there's the difference I was pointing out what Jesus was saying earlier. For I know him and teach, for I know him and need a hesitation in this. For I know him and teach. I know him. I'm going to get in all this. I know him and obey his words. Our father Abraham rejoiced to know the day, know my day. So Jesus is saying this was known in heaven to those even in the abyss. Seems because this is okay. At this time, Abraham has to be in the abyss. Okay, and then uh, this has to be speaking about my days. So he's hearing about Jesus from those that are dying and going into the abyss right now. So it has to be days. Our forefather Abraham rejoiced to know of my days. So he knew that his kingdom was coming soon. And from the very promise that I showed you in Genesis, he has now been in the abyss a long time, waiting for this promise that I pointed out to you in Genesis. Know of my days. So Lord, rejoice to know of my days. Rejoice in knowing of my days. And I think it's better saying it that way. Sometimes things come in my head and then go out real quick and then come back and forth. And yeah, it's a mess in my little mind here. Our forefather Abraham rejoiced knowing of my days. And this would mean that, like I said, those dying and being gathered together, Abraham was there, and he's now hearing that Jesus has come, is on earth at this time. He said, "You are not 30 years old, and you say, you have seen Abraham." Jesus told him, "Before Abraham, I was created." So this verse goes to Jesus being, as my understanding, just one of the 2 or 3 verses that I can point to that Jesus, well, most likely it was his first angel created. It's this statement of when they're talking that he's saying, like, you have seen Abraham to know this statement that he's saying, and that is what they can't really understand what this all means. Because remember, they aren't supposed to recognize Jesus as who he is. Some are just too far away from our Creator that he's not going to let them enter into heaven. So he said, "You are not 30 years old." Satan told him, "I was before I was created." Some of the crowd picked up stones to throw at him, but Jesus just walked away from them. Now our highest priests, elders, and scribes planned to arrest him, but they feared his crowd. So this has been mentioned a few times, that they just, and you'll see that I didn't have the word connected here, meaning they're all the highest ones here, and I don't have judges involved. I didn't want to put too much in the text because when you do a search on arrest him, you're going to get the group of people that are in Jerusalem that are all together in this not accepting Jesus as who he is, because their way of life is against our Creator, but they still feared his crowd. So with our higher judges, they can counsel together to deliver him to their governor. So here we now have the entering of the judges. They were planned to arrest him. So with our judges, they consulted together. We could get rid of this. And get rid of this. Judges, they consulted together to deliver him to their governor. So this is interrupting the text flow, and we already know that this has been said, and it doesn't need to be repeated here because I mentioned the two verses together. I want the story to read as it would be connected better. So yeah, I'm going to get rid of this text. This is just repeating what's already known. Why they don't do it outright. So they were planning with their higher judges. They counseled together to deliver him to their governor. Now this goes to people understanding what Caiaphas said about one to be replaced for a murder that Jesus dies, because the Romans let these groups, Israelis, okay, but they did not allow them to actually kill any of those of their own people. So this is why they have to deliver them to the governor for Rome to pass the murdering of Jesus. So they sent their higher judges to Jesus along with their officers. One said, "Teacher, we know you are truthful and teach Yahweh's truths," which I know that they're just kind of saying these words, and this is not truly believed by them. "You defer to no one, and you are not unfair to anyone," kind of buttering him up. "Tell us, is it lawful to give tax to Caesar?" Jesus, knowing his trickery, and said, "Why are you testing me? Show me the coin for your tax." So he showed him a silver. This should be coin to understand that he's looking at. So it's not a piece of silver. Because I use silver as pieces of silver in the Hebrew text, I don't want to continue that. So it's got to be coin. And then he asked them whose likeness is on it. He answered Caesar's. This would be their ruling for who was. I don't know if they're actually saying that Caesar was ruling at this time, um, because the text doesn't say that. So this would be a change that all coins were to Caesar. To Caesar the things that are Caesar. And they were amazed by his answer. Thus they were unable to trap him before a people. Now I'm trying to think here that the coin has Caesar's image on it. They use the word Caesar as emperor, specifically calling out that it's Caesar's name is the emperor of, or the king of Rome. Check something real quick here because it's bothering me right now. And I want to see how, because I think it's in here. Yeah, the first Roman emperor, Caesar. Okay. This is the 1611 preface, by the way. This you can find, and this is them telling you that Gregory is the divine, and then your reward for studying the Bible. Lastly, the reward of studying the Bible is just to have fellowship with saints and a participation of the heavenly nature, which there is no such thing as nature. Everything is our creator. So you can see that those editing the Bible right off the bat, starting in English, did not believe our creator, because Gregory is the divine. He was a great clerk who ended up becoming a pope. So here, they're writing the first Roman emperor. So how are they being ruled? This makes done before. So I'm on page 32. To go back to the text. Who at what time. Here. So it was a king here. This has to be changed to Caesar. That's wrong. This is this is wrong. Yeah. this information. The first Roman emperor not only the first 15 years of Rome, using the text. Changed it for text. This name here is the governor. I'm trying to put a timeline in my head together here by only what's in the text. And this has to be Caesar. This has to be Caesar. Years he ruled, but this now comes into question. How can this be the 15th year? Like I told you, everything about this is Rome. They didn't even start collecting until 7 years after Rome fell to actually have the writings about for keeping knowledge of history. In the 15th year, the reign of King Caesar. Caesar, I'm going to do this for take this word, copy it, down here. Here, here, for the reign of Caesar. Year for Caesar. This has to be, this is noted. Make sure I put that there. King for Rome. So Caesar can't be the. Well, they're noting Caesar changed the calendar. The first Roman emperor. I'm thinking here, Rome, they have an army though to conquer everything. They can't be individual. So there has to be many years that Rome is fighting with Persia to become the rulers over the land, the kingdom of Babylon. I don't think they would make an error like that when they're noting this, because they're pretty proud of it. They're changing our Creator's calendar that King Nebuchadnezzar woke up eating grass, that he now put all of Babylon on our Creator's calendar line, which is summer solstice, is the first day of the year, the first Roman emperor. So they could have had kings before Rome, but they're now calling emperor, meaning the first. It's just not what's going on here. Or the you change this to be more truthful. It must be in the years. I don't know. I can't trust that number in the years or so because I would be changing this number, like it would have to be like 35th year of his ruling. Just to make it comfortable in my mind as the ruling, how long he ruled. Because there's no other timeline when Persia actually falls until we have the text from at Jesus' time. And a lot of times they did fight for 50 years before things actually got completely conquered. So they most likely had be designated as a king that would go fight their wars. But after it's established, then Caesar becomes the first over them as king, or what the translators want to use the word emperor. So how is this in the 15th year? I just have to use years, and it will always be subject that I've ruled out it's 15 years. The text below saying Caesar was ruler at the time. So this is a correction. All these years, I've just learned something. Reader keeps stuffing that right up in here. So I guess he wants, this is my last time going through the text. He agrees with me that I might be not around long enough to keep going here and have a stable mind to think this way. So give tax to Caesar, because now they're under the rule of Caesar. And if it was governor for a while, then he changed him out. Yeah, it has to be more like 35 years, definitely. And before then, there has to be like a war for 50 years. Um, Sometimes those wars were even longer, especially overruling others. Um, Everything had to be traveled, ran, conquered, and you got to understand what the thing here is. I'm thinking I got to show you what in a map here, especially when I'm describing what's going on here in my head. Um, Babylon is known as all this. Okay, this is what I've determined as Babylon. This is going to be Persia. This was Assyria over here. Let me see if I got a better map. Yeah, this one's better. I've got Persia here. They've now taken over Syria. The text that talking about um, the king's timeline, and bring that into effect here as well. We know it was Babylon that come down and took this over. Yet it was at this point that in this guy's life when um, the king of Assyria come down and was here. So Assyria, we've got 50, 80, 100 years here that we now know Babylon was established. So we know that they were fighting here. So this war was like 100 years just for Assyria to be making an agreement to stop this constant war to become the shared leader later. That's how Cyphus became king over Babylon, because Darius only ruled 2 years after Nebuchadnezzar and his son, our creator, killed them. So this puts, yeah, like I said, the wars, this wasn't really, this was a war because it talks about they were battling each other, but it took many years before they were conquered. So sometime in these 100 years, probably a good 50 years were war, and then there was probably skirmishes for 30 years before they said, look, nobody's making any sense of what's going on here. Um, so let's see if that's true, and I keep saying it's like 200 years before Jesus' time. I don't have any references here in the maps that are those timelines. So um, Caesar is the first ruler, the first king. Because they're going to fully conquer them to become ruler over Persia. So, yeah, my 200 plus years before their return to the promised land to when Jesus walks is pretty good because Persia is going to rule. Don't know, don't care what history says or what's in the book. I'm going by the text to teach what the text is teaching everybody. Um, then, yeah, you might have had at least 80 years, maybe at minimum 80 years to go through and start conquering and really um, getting to the point of taking over Because you got to understand, Persia is now ruling, so it's Persia that owns all this next. And Rome over here, here didn't put that in. Has to go all the way over here through all this pass. These are like these rivers become barriers for traveling. The Euphrates River is very wide. Okay. I've got a picture of it today just to show you what I mean by that, because they try to say Jacob crossed this river, so this is just a huge river, so they just couldn't travel. They didn't make bridges that wide at that time. In fact, I think I got another picture where like there's 5 cars on the bridge crossing, and there's spaces between the car. So the thing here is they have to go by the land structure to battle. So to have that, these barriers to come through, these were choke points. Like here would have been a perfect choke point to stop after they battled to get all this, because they couldn't cross here. So, and I don't have Babylon conquering down here, so they cut off their armies here and probably held their ground here until they started going over here. The battle was more over here. That's what made Babylon so hard, because this is the choke point to get into Old Babylon. Because the river, this is the Tigris River, and I just got the word Babylon, cut the river off. So this river and this river blocks in Babylon. Pretty hard to get over these rivers. Perfect protection for a kingdom. So then they had to go in. Not only did they have to come down here and wipe them out or hold them off here to go through Persia. Yeah, this has to take 150 years minimum. I'm just thinking of having to resupply for those distance. They probably stole from the land as they went, but still there's a huge army that's got to be fed to keep going. And you just wouldn't gather people from the places fallen. They've got to be coming. In fact, Rome had to actually make an agreement with old Assyria people that were still around, that when Persia took over, they were ticked. So that would give them more of an easy access to get to here. I'm just trying to put this together for the first time in my head and think it through truthfully. So I'm fine with getting rid of the 15 years, because it could be more reasonably a lot longer than that. So yes, Caesar was there. So, okay, huge change. First time I've changed the text big time in at least 8 years, minimum. That is the hugest change. All these years, I went right by that. Thank you. Yes, north is this way for me, so I'm looking to heaven and thinking our Creator. By the way, let's see here. Get back to it. Unable to trap him. Okay. Now they're going to bring a question. Then another higher judge asked him, and I want to change this to his. Judge asked him, Moses wrote the law if the male's brother dies, but leaves behind his a wife with no son, his brother should marry his wife to raise a son for his brother's inheritance. Now there are 3 brothers. The oldest received a wife, but he died without a son. If you notice, I've changed the number of brothers from 7 to 3, because when you figure this out, that you don't want to make the woman a whore, but you want to make it reasonably truthful. So the second one married with her and he died. Now I know they're putting up a hypothetical here, but I didn't want to get crazy with the hypothetical. So, and the second one marries her and he dies, leaving her no son. Now the third brother likewise. Then they rise to heaven. Which one's wife will she be? Jesus told them, and again, I got that small spacing I gotta get. You are mistaken, for you do not understand his words. When they raise from death to heaven, they neither marry nor are given to marry. They will be like his angels in heaven. I've seen enough souls in my life to tell you, a woman's soul, yes, she'll have breasts, but the thing here is no nipples, no belly button, no sex. Okay, so that means no butthole either, because there's no food that they're going to consume. They're more like his angels in heaven, the way Jesus is saying that they're going to have wings on them that are in heaven. Okay, so the thing here is I have to put it as our scribe, because the way he's answering Jesus, because he's got his own text and he's saying you have answered correctly. He knew that they become like angels in heaven and that there was no marriage, because you can't find that in the Hebrew text itself. So Jesus is telling you the truth, and the assumptions of the scribe would know that he was aware of what souls look like as well. So this has to be our scribe was there with them to say, you have answered correctly, and he did not question him again. Okay, and that would have been the highest judge. When the crowd heard this, they were amazed by his teaching. So other higher judges asked him, is his greatest instruction in his laws? Now, this means that he is specifically talking about our Creator and his laws, not what they know that this judge knows about how they corrupted the text, but he's going by what he knows about our Creator's laws, okay, his greatest instruction in his laws. Jesus told him, you will obey our Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind. This is his greatest instruction. The second is like it. You will respect your neighbor. From these 2 instructions, we are given his commands for us. This goes to the 12 commandments, because down here it is the highest truth. I have written it as highest truth. There is no other greater. So the thing here is you're to obey our Creator. So Jesus is saying that's in the laws of being, it's more like his commandments. So I can't should I put the word laws or commandments? Because it's directly talking about the second part would be coming from the commandments, greatest instruction in his. I'm going to put commandments here. So change here to understand that they're tied together, and this is not really, this is to make sure that the reader understands the specific of the law that he's asking about. Because that's the way Jesus is telling him, obey our Lord, which I noted as our highest. So he's covering this and want them to be obedient to him with your heart, soul, and mind. This is his greatest instruction. The second is like it, will respect your neighbors. And there's a few of them in there about stealing and stuff like that. No coveting your neighbors or wanting for your neighbor's wife, or for adultery, that's not there, or for adultery is covered. Yes, so Jesus is covering the commandments. Then I said that they're all mankind. Here we have Nicodemus, which means that he might have been the only one as a judge, as a judge that might not had that sex practice, that he was still good, then a highest judge. I'm going to go back to here. Keep him out of the group. Keep him out of the group. Being the highest. He's like a judge that would have been in a different city that has come to celebrate the so it's been then a higher judge named Nicodemus. Came to Jesus at noon, and he said, I know you have come from Yahweh, for no one can do these healings you do. So to do unless Yahweh is with him. Jesus' bride, I say, unless one is born again, they cannot enter my kingdom from Yahweh. Nicodemus said, how can a man be reborn? See, he's literally taken it as the statement, and Jesus teaches in parables. So, for they cannot enter a second time into their mother's womb to be born, Jesus told them, unless one is born from his words, they cannot enter my kingdom from Yahweh. So, one, you are born by your mother, and then next you have to learn to be obedient to our Creator. So, otherwise you don't get to enter. And yes, it was said as a parable and had to be straightened out as a parable, so he taught it as this is the meaning of his words here. So then Jesus said to the crowd, your teachers do not understand his words. They speak what you do not know of. And that's why I said their practice they hide from you and bear witness of what they have experienced, this meditation practice. If I told you of unearthly things and you do not believe me, how will you believe if I tell you in heaven? I told you of unearthly things, and you do not believe me. Now will you believe if I tell you in heaven? Believe if I tell you in heaven. It's rough. Have a mild stroke and your vision to be affected. That's especially when I do all this reading and stuff. So if I told you of heaven and earthly things, which would be the abyss, you do not believe me. He is teaching these things. I told you of unearthly things, and you do not believe me. The word if does not need to be needed. I told you of unearthly things, and you do not believe me. How will you believe me if I tell you in heaven? So this has to be, this is being changed. This is a question mark here. So it's kind of, this would be like after the fact that it happens that you asking them or stating this. No soul has ascended into heaven. I have descended from heaven as your son for man. Now this means Jesus is stating this is he come from our Creator, and he existed as a being from heaven that he now became as son for man, as your son for man. So this is Jesus kind of reading in between the words, saying, even now in heaven, I only found out here in the last maybe 20 years on earth what was going to happen, what I was going to be chosen as the son for man. As for your son for man, I will ascend into heaven. This is our Creator's promise since Abraham's time. I don't think it needs to be restated as made it as a note. This doesn't need to be a note. This has no note. Okay. Then whoever believes me will have life with me, for Yahweh loves everyone, but he gave them to his first son. And whoever believes him will have life with me. I didn't want to put the word being here because Jesus understands that our Creator made male and female angels. So I could not put beings here without understanding that the reader now needs to know that our Creator made angels, male and female, to be sent to earth. Okay, and then we have by birth either a female soul was sent from heaven or a male soul was sent to heaven to cause the conception. Okay. I don't want to talk this situation. But this text would go to what I am saying as Jesus is firstborn. I think this is the strongest of all the statements that would be there or to be said. Great. For Yahweh loves everyone, but he gave them to his first son, and everyone or whoever believes him will have life with me. So he's teaching the crowd, and I don't think they understood this at this time being said. This is for us to know pretty much the future. So I don't think many would understand because he was teaching. This is this is giving them insight into his existence to be the before the world was made or the universe existed. Yahweh did not send me into the world to judge our people, but for everyone to be forgiven through me. Everyone who does evil hates good, who do not come to good. Those who do not come to good, their deeds will be exposed. Those who do not come to who do not come to being good, those who do not come to who do not to be good, be good. This is kind of what I'm saying. I'm going to say I'm adding this word because it is a big change from the word come. So I'm going to add this, get rid of this. Those who do not live to be good, their deeds I will expose. Who is truthful comes comes truthful becomes deeds will be known by Yahweh. Deeds will become to Yahweh. Judge said to Nicodemus, "You have also been led astray. None of us other judges believe him." And this would be other judges from around that they have totally disregarded everything that they've been taught as about their history. So none of the other higher judges believes he is him. There's some that's going to be king. And this crowd does not know his prophecies. So it means that the judges were studying the law that the scribes, the corrupt scribes, have were given them, and by their understanding of the laws written by those screwed up texts that the scribes were putting to double speak for their God, they were deceived by this. So I can see these some of the higher judges have been deceived. Nicodemus just disregarded everything as what he knew by the laws and knew by the teachings that have always been said to be said that the son from David we're supposed to wait for to be in your life. So, yeah, neither of these can be highest judges, believe. None. Swear. point out that if we go by the highest judges, he is him. So the judge said to Nicodemus, "You have also been led astray." Right, he's there. This is kind of like saying you're supposed to follow the higher up judges and to go trust them, for none of our highest judges believes he is him. This crowd does not know the prophecies, and this I made sure that there's a little p, because they corrupted so much that they're distorted. Oh, the crowd does not know. Still have to say that they're coming from our Creator, but you can't say that they're trusting Him the way they're written, so it can't be directly bold. It is all capitals to mean that there are Creator's true prophecies. I think that's better. I haven't done that. Nicodemus said, "Not one of his laws says we are not to judge him. First, we should hear from him to know why he is doing as he does." Then they told him, "We searched the prophecies and learned no prophet has been risen from Zebulun." This goes to the fact that Jesus was searching for him in the prophecies, even though that they were distorted, and learned no prophet has risen from Zebulun. Now, this would go to the fact that you go to look like for all of the nation Israel, prophets like Elijah and Elijah. I'm trying to think of, there's a couple others that are sent to the kings for Israel. And they're saying none of them had actually come from the tribe of Zebulun. So this is a way to speak against Jesus at that time by the judges, the higher judges, because I'm thinking it would be meaning the higher judges. So the highest judges believe he is him, and this is why. Then they told him, they search the prophecies and learn no prophet is risen from Zebulun. And this would be a greater prophet, but they are not going to believe that they were all prophets. It must be all capital, still referring to our Creator's prophets, even though they distorted the text, is risen from Zebulun. Okay? So that is now corrected the best I can get to reply who did said what, why they would say this, how come they would say this, who they're learning from, why they are trusting these judges because they are the highest, but they are not the higher judges that are coming to Jesus right now. Okay. All right. See, I do have to think these things through, so now you get my thoughts out loud, and that's exactly why I'm doing these videos and done all the other ones for history. Just for you to hear my thoughts as I'm changing one little word means a lot more than people think. Then Jesus asked the scribes, "What do you teach Jesus?" Church the God highest described. Jesus asked the highest scribes, "How do you teach your king is from David's son? What do you think about your king? Whose son is he?" They answered, "Not David's." I think I did a lot of correcting to get to this point here. I'm not sure, but I think I know that one. I know one of them that really took a long time to get this text to say what's being said here. Not David. Then Jesus said, and I needed to add who was talking here because they answered him. Yet David had it written about his Lord and how he is his son. Jesus, I'm trying to make each line a sentence so it can be done. Then Jesus said, "Yet David had it written about his Lord and how is he his son." It goes to the only verses turned him. For it is prophesied, my Lord said to my Lord, "Sit at my right hand until I put your enemies beneath your feet." Now, this goes to the relationship of our Creator said to my Lord, "Sit at my right." And a lot of people are thinking the king hands over his kingdom to his son who sits at his right. This they understood as what goes on with the king. And I mentioned before, the queen sits to the left. So it's written for people to understand about Jesus becoming a king, which here I'm pretty sure this is words that Jesus is saying how David also had all this written. But I don't think that's, we'll look for it, but I don't think that's going to be there to make a note. That's actually being said this way. So it might just have to be close enough to to the words that were there. That call at that time. Pretty sure I should put it in, even if it's close. David calls him my Lord. So what reasoning is he his son? And all these as Jesus answering his own question for them to understand that he knows what the text was saying. David calls him my Lord. This is Jesus speaking one of the first time, or one of the very few times Jesus speaking. He is him in a third person, but he's actually referring to the text that was written about him. So this is as truthful as I can make it, as Jesus would have said it truthfully. So what reasoning is he his son? And you got the capital H here again to represent this, their son from David, okay? Son. So this should be capitalized as well. is his throne. It is by Yahweh's promise through Abraham, and David's seed will come as Lord and King. Yes, I had to add all this text because otherwise there's no reason for him to be asking this question if he didn't respond. And this is the truth of what I showed you about starting with Abraham. I did show that in this video. If not, I'm going to put it up real quick. You can take a screenshot and you can see between these, we're talking about kings from you, and then all nations will be blessed on earth. That's again Jesus being, but they don't know what the word blessed is. And then down here again, it confirms who's going to be blessed. All the nations on earth will be blessed because why? Because Abraham. So this promise of David through the son coming, starting with Abraham, is right there in the text there. And then we have David's words. Note definitely coming from there. None of them answered him, nor did anyone dare ask him another question. Okay. I think I will call that the end here, somewhere in the middle of the fourth day, and I will pick up again to keep teaching and correcting the text to make it better. And as you can see, I'm putting in footnotes and maps in the next update that I do. So until that's ready, I will be teaching and updating the PDF probably after I do all this editing. And I'll put that in the newest PDF, and then the one that you got now, that one will be removed and to be updated.